Welcome, one and all, to the March 28th, 2025 edition of Signals from Mars. I'm your host, Victor. And joining me is, I was thinking of this all week, how I was going to intro you. I've been on Hooligan Nation a few times already. I will be on Hooligan Nation in the future as well, so long as the editor didn't axe all of my recent appearance. Who knows? Maybe it didn't make the cut. That anything is possible.
You made the cut,
but see, I was trying to think of a clever lyric, and I forgot. I had this all week. I knew I should have written it down. But anyway, someone who recognizes that naughty girls need love too.
Yeah, I do.
And he just wants to have some fun. Let's not forget that. It is Mr. Anthony Scinto, known to me since for a very long time as Tony. So even though on the show, Rocco may call him Anthony the whole time, it's Tony. It's just a habit for me. So
it's better than the other things that I've been called. So
yeah, there you go. So welcome aboard. It is great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and we've known each other for a very long time. I thoroughly enjoy the show that you guys do. I've been catching up all week. My reference there, my Samantha Fox reference, had to do with the Women of Kiss episode that you guys recently released. Unlike my show, a ton of research went into that because of all the little details and all of the names that came out, and I'm sure that more could have come out of there, but I was enthralled throughout the episode. Today you guys have released the Alive 3 episode. No, that was on
Wednesday.
Yeah, see, this is me catching up on shows. Today, what did you guys release today?
No shit. I got to remember the title of it. We got to have catchy titles too. Today's video is 6 Strings of Glory, the greatest rock guitarists.
Okay.
It's our it was supposed to be our top 10 list, but then we ended up having about 35 honorable mentions on top of that. So trying to keep our podcast to like under 3 hours sometimes, and it's difficult.
Right. And this is the first time that you guys have kind of gone out of Kiss territory, though, correct?
No, it's not the first time. We did an episode on Jackal and Jesse James Dupree.
Oh, and I was on an episode where we talked about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is another one, and I think that's the only time so far, because we're trying to get through album reviews to be able to open ourselves up to be able to do everything else. I didn't want to jump around without first building a base and doing album reviews.
Right. Well, that makes sense. The what I find great about the album reviews as well is that your co-host Rocco, John, him, he's listening to a lot of this stuff with a fresh pair of ears. And it's funny because there are some times where I'm listening to the episodes and he like kills a song that I absolutely love. I'm like, no, that's one of the only good songs on the album. But he'll be like, yeah, this is boring, unorganized, whatever. And I'm like, all right, not everyone has to share the same opinion, but that's cool. I mean, and the other neat thing is hearing him talk about certain things for the first time. I've mentioned this to you guys before, like the other day on one of the episodes I listened to, he talked about Greta Van Fleet or Volbeat, for example. And it's funny because a lot of that is similar to the conversations that I have with my kids, where they're listening to bands for the first time and just having that excitement of
Mhm.
talking about a band is awesome. I love hearing that stuff. There are two things that I love from podcasting. One is hearing people get excited about listening to new music and or bands for the first time, and the other is having somebody say, my wife's going to get pissed off at me because thanks to you I spent X amount of money on buying an album that I was turned on to due to your show or due to Patreon or whatever. So hearing him talk about that stuff always, is a thrill to me.
I like the varying opinions.
Yeah.
I like what I like, but I like to throw on, for instance, your podcast,
Hmm.
and you're talking about something that doesn't sound like music to me sometimes.
Right.
But I like the opinion, and it's like with him and I, sometimes we have to go out of our way not to sound like we're mimicking each other, because our musical tastes are so alike in some ways. And it's also one of the, you were talking a minute ago about a Kiss song that you liked that he hated.
Right.
But at least for me, it can change week to week, month to month. We just filmed an album review for Carnival of Souls,
Okay.
who an album that I've probably been killing since it came out,
Hmm.
but probably listened to once or twice.
Right.
And because it was labeled as grunge, I just walked away from it. And I spent 2 weeks researching it and doing all the homework on it. And when it came time to do the album review, it turned out a whole lot better than I expected it to be. And I think I liked six or eight out of 12 songs,
Hmm.
which a month ago I would have guessed that there was nothing anywhere close to that.
Right.
And you know what? A year from now, I may like all 12, or I may not. I may like two of them.
Right.
I just, my opinion changes.
Yeah. Well, and that's cool. I mean, there's a lot of things you guys recently did Hot in the Shade. And it's funny because there's a lot of that album that I agree with you guys on. And it made me also think back to the fact that when that album came out, I listened to that almost nonstop. I remember the summer that came out, or the summer after it came out, coming over here to Europe and listening to that album nonstop that summer and thinking how great it was. And then all these years later, you start to listen to things and you're like, wow, that really was not that good. But as a kid, you had that kind of invested interest that, well, you had to buy it. So you gave it maybe 50 listens
Yeah.
because I have to like this, it's Kiss. I paid for it. I have to like it.
Yep.
And then at the end of the day, all these years later, you grow out of it and you're like, yeah, it was really not that good.
And
And
now with streaming, at least for me, every song gets about 15, 30 seconds. If you don't catch me in 15, 30 seconds, I just hit the skip button and move on to the next one.
right.
It's a much bigger difference. And also, one of the coolest things about doing a podcast, at least for me, was I've learned that my tastes have changed as I've aged.
Yeah.
There's certain things that I liked as a kid that I'm not as crazy about anymore. And there's a lot of things, The Elder jumps out.
Mhm.
Look, The Elder is never going to be a great record, in my opinion, no matter what you do with it.
Right.
But it's a whole lot better at 50 years old than it was at 11 or 12 years old.
Right.
And I can't answer why that is, other than, it's almost 40 years of experience. and my tastes have changed.
Yeah. And now as we're talking, I'm remembering something that I wanted to tell you the other day when I sent you a barrage of messages. So you were talking about Lisa Hartman.
Oh, Lisa Hartman.
Okay. She's married to Mark Goodman. Is that correct?
No.
She dated Mark Goodman.
Lisa Hartman is married to Clint Black,
Okay.
the country star.
So what was the connection to Mark Goodman? Mark Goodman is where
one of them was married to Mark Goodman.
Okay.
And I can't remember who it was.
Okay. So regardless, as you're saying that, I remembered that two people that we went to school with, and one of them that you later worked with is actually related to Mark Goodman.
Really?
Yes.
Is that an answer you can give me?
Oh, yeah. The Machowskis are related to Mark Goodman.
No kidding.
Yeah. And the reason that I know that is because Melissa used to always say it all the time. Oh, yeah, that's my cousin. Wow. And I forgot that you mentioned it during the episode, and it went off. And then when it came time for me to mention it, I blanked. I completely forgot.
Yeah, so, now I can't remember who the woman was.
Yeah, that's fine though.
I mean, there was I think the list grew to 55 total.
Right.
And I had to cut it off at 55. It was more than a full-time job to search the internet and then try to fact check it as much as possible, and then try to find some kind of photo evidence, which we were probably about 50-50.
Right.
Of being able to find a photo with the member of KISS. So a lot of work went into that one. I'm not looking to do that every week, that's for sure. But it was just such an interesting topic.
Yeah.
And not for, I mean, I guess at first it all started from Samantha Fox.
Right.
I mean, it just opened the door for me to do an episode that had Samantha Fox in it. And then as time went on and it started to roll, it became, we can put Samantha Fox, we can put this one, we can put, and then it moved out of what all of these women look like really quickly. And it turned into, if you looked at them in separate groups, Gene's dating, at least to me, looked like it was based on business. He was trying to date women that were more of a celebrity than him, or could help him lift his celebrity higher.
Right.
And Paul Stanley wanted to date nothing but beautiful women. 90% of them were blonde, so he's got a type that doesn't make him a bad guy in any way. For Peter, in his peak of stardom, you had to be a Playboy playmate. At least that's what it looks like from our research. And then you look at Ace, who dated regular women. Just, he wasn't interested in stardom. He wasn't interested in playmates. He wasn't interested in anything that could make him more of a celebrity. He in Ace's personality, he was all over the map.
Right.
It turned out to be an interesting research product. So if I could have done that in school, I would have probably done better.
Well, we didn't have all the same accoutrements to help us out.
Right.
Back then. So, one of the things where I think we're very much on the same side of things, and I'm going to preface this by mentioning something that you've alluded to a few times on your show, and it's something that I think is 100% spot on, and it's something that I've always said. If people don't like my show, they don't like your show, they don't like Kiss for that matter, or any other thing, or maybe they claim to be fans and just take a negative side of thing on everything. I don't know that having, an operation performed on you, going to the dentist, there aren't people that have podcasts about that. Root canal 2025, or, root canal nation, or you know, or stuff like that. And what I'm getting at is, and this is something where with my old podcast, Galaxy of Geeks, we always used to say, Star Wars fans are the best, Star Wars fans are the worst.
Absolutely.
And I'm starting to see that, maybe because I'm paying too much attention now, but with Kiss pages and groups and this and that, if you don't like what the band is doing, there's like a million other things you can focus on instead of just beating the dead horse of, oh, they're doing this, they're doing that. It's obviously a cash grab. It's obviously this. Last time I checked, no one's putting a gun to my head to pay to buy that Strutter single. No one is telling me that the only reason that or the only way to be a true Kiss fan is if I become Gene's butler or roadie or whatever. There's just some asinine connotations where I don't get why there's so much venom at this point in time, when if something displeases you so much, why not move on to something else?
Look, I equate this. I'm a Raiders fan,
Mhm.
and most Raiders fans have been killing the Raiders for 20, 25 years.
Right.
But they still show up every year. They still back the team. We're all the same way in August. We think the Raiders are going to the Super Bowl. And then by October, everybody jumps off the sinking ship
Mhm.
and starts to kill all the moves that they loved in March, April, May, and June, and
Mhm.
all the things they saw. And the new coach hire. Oh, everybody loves Pete Carroll right now. If they're, 1-4 in October, they'll be calling for him to get fired.
Mhm.
It's the same thing with Kiss. To me, when in our case, a Kiss podcast was not planned. It wasn't a planned thing at all. But when we started to talk about it, we looked around and said, who else could we talk about every week and never run out of any material? And part of that is their history.
Mhm.
And the other part of that, as we're seeing currently, is they're 75 years old and they're continuing to create history. Whether you like it or you don't,
Mhm.
there's always something to talk about. I think we've done 3 segments in 3 weeks over all new shit shows that they've created, starting with the Strutter single. And I think I said then, Gene Simmons doesn't have his hand in your pocket.
Mhm.
You're a big boy. Like, if you want to spend $50,000 on that gold single, you knock yourself out. For me, I'm not doing that. But I don't knock Kiss, Gene and Paul, Pop House, whoever it is at this point. And everybody thinks they know, but from my knowledge and history with this band, I find it very hard to believe that they sold everything and have no control.
Mhm.
They're both way too much of control freaks for that.
Right.
So they put it out there. If you don't like it, if you don't want it, don't buy it. I'm not going to buy it. And then putting out the $2,500 one, not good enough. I'm not buying that. I don't want it. I'm not going to spend $50,000 on something to hang on my wall.
Mhm. Right.
I'm sure as hell not going to play a $50,000 single record. Like, it's playable, I'm told.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I would not spend $50,000 on something and then play it, personally. But I don't knock Gene or Paul or Pop House or Doc McGhee management or whoever it may be. I don't knock them for putting it out. I mean, I don't want to steal your thunder from your show. I'm not spending $12,500 to walk around as Gene's personal assistant and roadie, but somebody will.
Oh yeah.
I can almost guarantee more than one somebody will. And they'll probably leave there ecstatically happy that they got the experience. Well, good for them.
Mhm.
I think it's great that KISS still makes this available. I mean, I feel like it gives me good material. And other fans, if they have the money or they want to spend the money, good for them. They can spend the money.
Right.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I mean, you're in Spain. I'm in a capitalist country. So you can't knock Gene and Paul for being capitalist.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I think I said this in one of the episodes that hasn't aired yet for us. We are fans. We have to understand Gene and Paul are not fans. Gene and Paul are in the music business.
Mhm.
We're not. That's a great distinction between us and them. So the fact that, Gene wants to throw out $12,500 roadie experience, I don't knock him for that. I won't pay him for it, but I don't knock him for doing it.
Mhm.
He's in the music business. No matter how much money he's got, it ain't never going to be enough for him.
Right. It's still part of the conquest. It's still part of the game for him. And the funny thing is, so many bands have knocked them for doing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah,
And
and then they all follow and do it.
And they follow and do it. You can
Right.
mention Motley Crue, you can mention Van Halen, you can mention Aerosmith. When the meet and greet started, I'll never do that to my fans. Not this tour anyway.
Yeah. When the music business changed, they all did it.
Absolutely.
They got to
So
make money.
yeah. And as you're saying, and this is something that I don't remember who I was talking to about this. I think we may have mentioned it to you off camera with the last show that we did. If you've won the lottery and a $50,000 single is affordable, why not? But at this point in time, in my case, I don't want that. Similar to you, I don't want that. But if somebody wants to go ahead and do it, can afford it, the band is offering it, I have no problem with the band offering it or somebody going ahead and pulling the trigger. It's their money. They know what to do with it. So,
I mean, in my case, I can have Elon Musk money. I'm not buying a $50,000 gold single.
right.
And I'm not going to work for Gene and paying him to do it. But I have no issue with who has the money that wants to do it. My only concern, it's not my business, but my only concern is I just wonder how many people are going to seriously put themselves out because they got to have the gold single or they got to go roadie for Gene. That's concerning. I understand that it's not concerning to Gene,
right.
but as fans, it's a little concerning to me that some guy's going to lose his house because he's got to go roadie for Gene for a day.
Right. Have you heard his rationale on the price?
Yeah, I did. I heard a little bit of it last night. Actually, what helped Gene out is what's her name? Siwa, whatever her name is. She's some I don't even know what kind of music. She's some pop act. She just dropped the same thing pretty much as him.
Mm-hmm.
It's like $6,000, and
Right.
it stirred back up all of his controversy again. So the last, I don't know, probably the last 24 hours, he's getting more press and more press, which I still think that's what's behind all of this.
Yeah. I agree. Same thing with the single.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure there's going to be more things like that. I mean, today the Off the Soundboard was just released, the new one with Bruce on it, and with from the Asylum tour. I know a lot of people were having issues with the images for that because it's just Gene and Paul. And this is something that I thought of listening to your Hot in the Shade episode. The video for Rise to It is the first time that we ever saw images of just the two of them. That was kind of the pioneering thing where now they've come back with Asylum and Off the Soundboard, and we're getting, it got yanked, but it was that image of just the two of them. The same thing happened with, there was one of the previous reissues where it was similar, where it was an image and everyone else was cropped out, and it was just Gene and Paul as well. And somebody was joking about the fact that with the 50th anniversary of Dress to Kill, there was just going to be the two of them. And I actually responded to somebody where I cropped everything out and it was just their faces. I said, no. If they were to do it, it would be this. You wouldn't even see New York in the background. It would just be their two faces. You wouldn't see the suits. You wouldn't see anything.
Well, I think because of the backlash that happened over the it was a T-shirt, the Asylum T-shirt. I don't think that'll happen now, and it's a money thing. And I have heard that someone asked Bruce Kulick, who said no one ever approached him, which I have a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you approach Bruce for his likeness and he comes up with a crazy number or something, same thing for Eric Carr's estate. That's one thing. But Pop House, allegedly bravado, it's all the same to me. They allegedly never approached him, and they got beat down pretty bad, at least online, that where they pulled it.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is they don't have to do that with Ace and Peter because they own everything, and and that's their fault. So I don't think you'll ever. I think you'll probably never see that again, but I definitely don't think you'll ever see it with the original Kiss. I mean, all you got to do is go on Kiss Online, and they're plastered all over the place. And Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer have been tossed in the garbage,
right?
Which I don't agree with that either.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a large part of, the Kiss fans that get labeled as haters. They are era fans.
Right.
I only like the original four. I only like 73 to 79. I only like this. I only like that. For me, I can stand all eras. My only hang up is putting Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer in Peter Criss and Ace Frehley's makeup and costumes. But I play with Tommy. It's funny to me. But I have no issue with Tommy as a player. as long as he plays like Tommy Thayer.
Right.
And you take the makeup off, like 2001, 2002, whenever it started to fall apart, if they would have took the makeup off and put Eric Singer and Tommy Thayer back in the band with no makeup, I'm good with it, because I got 22 more years of Kiss.
Right.
So I was always okay with it. Now I'm a little more restrained than some fans are. I mean, I have subscribers on my channel that just straight out, I hate it. Well, why do you hate it? I just hate it. Well, that means you just hate it because it isn't what you think you like.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. There's a lot of looking over my shoulder to see who's around me, to see what my opinion is going to be, instead of, as you're saying, oh, well, I don't like the fact that, he wore this or he did that, but I can appreciate him as a player. Okay. Instead of, no, I hate it because I hate it. No, well, why do you hate it? Oh, because I've got Fred to the left of me and I've got Bob to the right of me. They hate it, so I have to hate it as well.
And people think it's cool
Yeah.
to hate
Right.
on everything at this point. I mean, that's the society that we live in.
Yeah.
It's well, we talked about this in the last episode that we filmed for my show. I lost my place now. Nah, I forgot.
That's fine.
It happens. I'll remember it 20 minutes from now.
Sure. And you can bring it back up. That's no problem. The other thing that I did want to mention is the postponement of the Gene dates. Now, how much does this have to do with this Vegas announcement, do you think? Do you think this is something where Paul has said to him, if you keep playing dates the rest of this year, it's going to cheapen, people going out to Vegas and seeing us? Is it that just something better has come along for Gene's time? Or I know there's a lot of people out there saying, see, he didn't sell all the tickets that he was supposed to sell.
So for me, I think the only people you're going to get to a Gene Simmons show, to an Ace Frehley show, to, for that matter, a solo Paul Stanley show, are hardcore Kiss fans.
Right.
You're not going to bring in the fair weather fans that like the makeup and the costumes and the stage show and all of that. I think that's part of the problem. You got Gene up there and he's playing songs and he's clearly playing what he wants to play.
Right.
So unless you're a hardcore fan that just has to go, I don't know if that's going to be on the top of your list, because of how the music business has changed and everybody tours almost all year around. With the economy the way it is, and both husband and wife and most households have to work to make ends meet and all of this, you got to choose what's your priority.
Right.
And then when you're Gene Simmons, and look, I don't knock Gene for this, but Gene wants what Gene wants.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't give him what he wants, he'll just cancel it. I mean, it's not a bad business move by him. I'm sure there's Kiss fans that are pissed off about it, because I think he canceled 17 dates and he left 9 dates. Now, we intend on going to one of those dates that's in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as right now, it's still on. So, I'm not pissed at Gene for it. But again, I think it's a dollars and cents thing. Gene has a set fee that he wants because he's Gene.
Mm-hmm.
And if the promoters can't make their money back, they're probably, and I know nothing about the music business officially, but my guess is ticket sales aren't going very well. They call Gene up and say, hey, look, a quarter is sold. You got to take less of a minimum. And he says no. And they cancel it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes sense. I don't think one has to do with the other.
Right. Okay.
That's my personal belief. I think this all works in favor of Pop House. It, of course, all works in favor of Gene and Paul, because if Gene goes out there, it keeps the KISS name out there.
Right.
The avatars are coming allegedly in 2027. I think this is all linked to 2027. I think it's a 5-year plan, and at the end of 2027, 2028, we're all going to be sitting around saying, damn it, they're geniuses again. Because they just keep their name in the press. 2024, they both went out and did the podcast tours. 2025 hit. Now we're going to put out a $50,000 gold single. Gene's going to do a roadie for a day. Boom, now we're going to storm Vegas. I think it's just going to keep coming. And people like us are going to keep talking about KISS.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And people that are watching this are going to keep watching and listening about KISS.
Right.
We're their conduit to making more money.
Good point. What is your limit to go to this Vegas show? Have you put a price tag on it? Is it something that you've entertained, or is this something that doesn't even interest you?
Have you seen the prices yet?
To my knowledge, the prices haven't been released. I've heard a few rumors.
They have been.
The initial rumor was $5,000, which someone else kind of shot down and said, no, I'm hearing that it's closer to 1,000.
Do you want the numbers?
Yes. What are the numbers?
Let me move some things around here. So anybody that wants the numbers, the website is KissArmyStormsVegas.com.
Okay.
The lowest, you want me to go through in detail what each of these packages are? Or you want me to just give you the prices?
No, you can detail the packages. That way we can talk about them.
The first package is a signature experience package. And that is $1,109 total per person with fees plus taxes.
Okay.
And that includes, I got to find, oh, now they won't show it to you. Because they, oh, here it is. 3-night stay at Virgin Hotels with reduced prices on nights pre and post event. KISS Unmasked Electric Show with, this is a change, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons and special guests.
Mm-hmm.
With choice of tickets in loft section, standing room only. Q&As with members of KISS and Doc McGhee. KISS Storms Vegas poster signed by members of the band. 1 curated KISS Storms Vegas gift. Photo with KISS memorabilia. Not with KISS.
Not with KISS memorabilia. Okay.
Memorabilia. Access.
Here's your picture with the KISS air guitar strings.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? If I had a choice, that's probably what I'd take my picture with. Access to artist sets, access to activities and panels, and a collectible laminate and lanyard. That is the lowest package, and that's $1,109 plus tax and flight and airport transfer and blah, 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 blah. The Signature Plus experience is $1,389, includes of everything that I said before, plus round trip shuttle, airport transportation. The exclusive experience package is $2,829, And that includes everything in the first two packages, plus Kiss Unmasked electric set with choice of premium seat close to the stage, Kiss Unmasked photo, early entry to Kiss member Q&As, early entry to panels, early access to merch store, private car service to and from airport, on-site Vibe experience. I don't know. And then the top package is $51.49 plus taxes. And that includes everything from the other packages plus premium seat in gold circle closest stage, early entry and priority seating at Kiss member Q&As, access to Kiss Soundcheck, Kiss Unmasked signed set list, and a commemorative Kiss event coin. So I think you started this out by asking me.
Yes.
So I really expected this to be like a $10,000 weekend.
Right.
I put my limit at about $1,000, and they came in close enough that as long as I'm not going to pay the extra $50. They want you to pay the extra $50 to join the fan club to get access to pay for this early. I'm not going to do that. But if they're still available, I think it's April 2nd. I'm probably going to buy it and go.
Okay.
Just in case it's a one-off. I don't think it's a one-off.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I also don't think it's going to be a tour.
No.
I think this is going to be, and this is something that I've been saying for years that they should have done before all of the end of the road shit. End of the road should have been 5 years ago, 10 years ago, because once Paul's voice started to go, they should have cut way back on the shows. And I mentioned it. I started mentioning this a long time ago and saying, look, you're packing these cruises, do 5 cruises a year, do selective dates a year in big cities, rotate them on a yearly basis, do a total of 10 to 20 shows a year. People will travel to see them and they'll pay. And this is what I think they're going to be doing with this. If they're smart, they'll do it once a year now at this point, because I don't think they'll do it with the makeup, especially after the avatars come out. And they're dangling the carrot already because the description is so ambiguous. And friends. Who's and friends? Is that Ace and Peter?
I wouldn't call them friends, but
business acquaintances.
I don't even know if I could call them that, but
Bruce, Tommy, Eric. You don't have to deal with costumes. You don't have to deal with makeup at this point. You can pop people in and out. But I mean, beyond that, what other friends do you realistically think that they can bring up? Do you think we're going to see a Jean Beauvoir playing bass on Thrills in the Night or something like that?
I think it would be interesting if they did that. I don't think they're going to. I think maybe everybody jumped on the Friends part.
Mm-hmm.
And at least for me, I looked past the Friends because, Gene has said he has no friends, number one.
Right.
So I don't think that's it. I think again, there's a 5-year plan. I think they're not going to announce the 5-year plan until at least after this is over.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see how this is going to go off. They did another genius thing. We've talked about this before. If you're not that popular What do to gain popularity? You have to go away.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the unmasked Kiss has went away for 30 years. So
Very true.
in my case, telling me Kiss is not going to wear makeup, is not going to wear costumes. If you add in a completely different set list, and then you throw Bruce Kulick, to me, as the carrot,
Mm-hmm.
well, now you might be onto something. As long as Paul can sing it. Because
Right.
we know they all can stand out on stage and play. But Paul's got to be able to sing it. And look, I do not feel the need to travel to Las Vegas to hear Love Gun played for the millionth time live. But would I go to Vegas to hear them play Hide Your Heart live? I just threw this out on a segment that we're airing Wednesday. How about Bruce jumping up there and playing I Walk Alone live?
Mm-hmm.
I'd go to Vegas for that. I'd go to Vegas to hear Eric Singer sing Hooligan or Black Diamond or something that they didn't regularly play. Have Paul play, my choice was Love in Chains.
Mm-hmm.
Cater the set list for what Paul can probably sing, and then throw in, Gene deep dives. I don't want to hear War Machine again. I don't want to hear I Love It Loud. I don't want to hear God of Thunder. For those that do, good for you. I want to hear Radioactive live. Maybe Charisma. What was the Asshole song? Was it called Asshole?
It was called Asshole. Yeah.
You know what? I'd like to see that played live. That kind of stuff. I think Rocco brought up Eric Singer singing Young and Wasted.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Let's go with that. If they set a set list like that, and Paul was able to sing his parts on that, I think they're onto something. And I personally think if it all works, you're going to see a residency.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe once a month. What does that do for them? Oh, that brings business to Kiss Mini Golf, Kiss Museum. When the avatars open, it's an attraction to bring people to the avatars. And they got to go out there one Saturday night a month to, in a 5,000 seat arena. I think that's a slam dunk for them. They're going to sell merch. They're going to keep their names out there. They're going to bring business to their other business ventures out there. But it's all, and I think it replaces the cruise. I don't think you're going to see a cruise again.
Right. No, I agree with that.
I mean, allegedly, Gene has a house in Vegas.
Right.
And the avatars the building is being built supposedly in Vegas. So KISS headquarters is pretty much moving to Vegas. And I think it's a 30-minute flight from LA to Vegas. So you fly in Saturday morning, you play a show Saturday night, you fly out Sunday morning.
Mm-hmm.
It's a slam dunk, no lose for them as long as Paul can sing the material once a month. And then as time goes on, maybe not. You might see it in November. You might see Ace included. I think Peter's checked out. I think Peter's retired, and I don't think you're going to get Peter back. But Ace, you might see him in November, and you might see him, once in a while to come out there for the monthly residency if they did that. And you have to include Bruce, who, he lives in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to include Bruce because I think Eric Carr and Bruce Kulick are the 5th and 6th official members of KISS. I think, as history has shown us, they're up there right below the original 4.
Right.
I don't think anybody else is. Actually, I know no one else is.
Yeah,
People aren't looking at Eric Singer like they would look at Eric Carr.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Eric Singer lives in Vegas as well.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's going to become KISS headquarters.
So let's say let's say they say, all right, well, we've come to a realization. Paul can't do an entire set list. So we're going to bring people up to sing these songs. Paul's still going to play and still going to prance around on stage, but he's not going to sing all these songs, except he can still sing Silver Spoon and Bang Bang You. Would that be enough for you to see Paul sing them?
Well, it's kind of a difficult answer to give you for the November event.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to tell us, and we're not going to know until after it happens. Would you get me back there after that November event if Paul isn't going to sing? You wouldn't get me back there. But in my head and the thinking that I've done about this is that he's had almost 2 years to heal. And I don't want him to go out. I'm not trying to get him to go sing Crazy Nights. Cater the set list to things that the diehard KISS fan maybe has never heard live, which is what they want. That seems to be what they want. We want, as KISS fans, we want what KISS doesn't give us. So when they weren't in makeup, we wanted all 4 original in makeup. And then, at least for me, as time went on and you replaced and put other people in the makeup, I wanted the makeup to come off. And, when I go to a KISS show, I went to 2 End of the Road shows. I'm still looking at KISS in makeup. So you have to play Detroit Rock City, Love Gun, God of Thunder, Deuce, songs like that. But if you're going to come out there in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt, I want to hear what you don't play live, what you've never played live. I want to hear things that, maybe are almost 50 years old that they've never played live. Now, if you can figure that out and you can put Paul in a voice register that he can actually sing it, yeah, that's great. And we all know that if he can't sing it and he wants to do it, they'll just press play on the backing track. So, and as a one-off, once a year thing, I don't know how many KISS fans really care.
Mm-hmm.
I don't.
Right.
I mean, it was obvious, both shows that I saw him on the End of the Road, it was very obvious. Like, you knew when he was singing to a backing track. For the End of the Road, I didn't really care. As a whole, I care.
Mm-hmm.
But I just saw Blackie Lawless a few months ago, and he plays a backing track, and he doesn't hide it. But if you go to a Wasp show, he plays a backing track for the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a real issue with that. He's not hiding anything. He just can't sing the verses and the choruses both. He can do it in the studio. He can't do it live. I don't have a real big deal about it. And as a one-off or a once-a-month show that's going to be in a special event where, probably 95% of the people are going to travel to Las Vegas for it, I don't know how much they care either. Mm-hmm. They're going to go play mini golf. They're going to go look at the little KISS museum. They're going to go gamble. When the Avatar's open, they're all going to go to the Avatar show. No matter what any KISS fan tells you, we're all going to make jokes about it. We're all going to do this. And we're all, when it comes out, we're all going to go, I think I got to go to that. But you got to be a diehard for it.
Right.
Like the fair weather fans, they're done. KISS retired. That's at least my take on it.
So let me ask you this. What 5 songs would you love to see them do live?
I can do you better. I think I still have my list. So I took Paul singing into consideration, but it was not my first priority.
Okay.
And part of that reason is I want to hear I've Had Enough, Into the Fire, live. So that was my opener. And I can't find my list right now, but I had Gene singing Radioactive. I had Bruce singing I Walk Alone. Rocco had I'm a Legend Tonight.
Okay.
Which I thought was great, but I don't think he can sing. I had Hide Your Heart. I had Eric Singer singing Black Diamond and Nothing to Lose. I can't remember. Well, I had Paul singing Love in Chains. And then I leaned more to the non-makeup era. So I think I had King of the Mountain maybe in there. I can't remember what else I had in there. You Make Me Rock Hard. That's classic. It's a classic to put in there. But those are the kind of songs that I think you're going to draw the diehard KISS fan out, and you're going to get them. You're going to get a certain percentage of them to bite and say, I want to hear this specific song live, and this is the only place I can get that.
How about Hide Your Heart with Ace?
Oh, I haven't considered that. I think KISS's version was better, but I'd be okay with that.
But you could have Ace up there, and he could do, they could do half and half the vocals.
I'd be okay with that. I'd be better than okay with that.
Yeah. And all right. So how about with the whole Friends thing? Because I think if they were smart, you look at someone like Whitesnake, who brought in on their last 2 tours, they brought Dino in, Dino Geralicious, I think is his last name, to play keyboards, and who can sing better than David Coverdale can in 2025. So you bring someone else in, you say, and Friends, and you bring in a third guitarist who's going to do, the high parts or do the choruses or stuff like that. Similar to what you said with Blackie. That's what Ace does now with Scott Coogan on drums, where Scott does all the Paul stuff live. So do you bring in somebody to hit those notes that Paul can't hit in certain spots in the songs? I don't think would have. You're saying no.
Not for me. I want to see. If I'm gonna fly to Vegas, I'm flying to Vegas to see Kiss.
Okay.
I don't want to see, let's say Kiss with Jeff Tate from Queensryche singing because he's a Kiss fan. I don't want to hear songs like Love Gun and Detroit Rock City. I don't care who sings it.
Yeah.
I heard it every concert that I ever went to. I want to hear Paul and Gene have to sit down and figure out what songs Paul can sing that is a deep track. That's what I want to hear. I don't really care. I don't think I really care what it is. I just don't want to hear what I've heard my whole life. And I don't want, N Friends singing. Am I okay with N Friends jumping up there, like, Scotty and jumping up there with an axe bass and playing a song? Yeah, I'm okay with that. It's not a draw to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay with it. I don't need it. N Friends to me is, bring Ace up there. Just please don't have him play Shock Me. Like, that's what I think we're all tired of. Like, bring Ace up there. One of my favorite Ace songs is Into the Night. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
I have researched, asked people, called up radio shows. I've done every crazy thing that you can imagine. I can't find it played live anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know, can he not play it? Can he not sing it? Does he hate it? Like, you tell me Ace is going to jump up on stage and play Into the Night in Vegas, and that seals the deal for me. And I'm going to go, and I'm just going to go for that. I mean, I'm going to go for a lot of other reasons. The Raiders are in Vegas. Hopefully they're playing home that weekend. I know they won't be, but I'll go take a tour of the stadium. I want to go get Kiss air guitar strings at the Kiss mini golf. I'm going to go play mini golf. So there's other things to do because it's Las Vegas. But yeah, Ace is going to play Into the Night. I'm in. Bruce is going to play I Walk Alone. I'm in. Those are the things, at least for me, that's going to draw me in. And it might draw me there yearly. It might. Hey, I can go to a Kiss residency show, and I can go to a Raiders game, and I can, go spend my money on Kiss merch at the Kiss Museum once a year. I'd probably do it.
All right. So the trade-off, you get to see Into the Night, you get to see I Walk Alone, but you also get to see Jeff Tate sing Just the Boy with Kiss.
Yeah, I'll bring my earplugs. Look, at least for me, the history of Kiss has been always you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
that's why I think if you manage to get an Into the Night, you're going to get something else in the other direction. You'll get Peter to sing Finally Found My Way or something like that.
I mean, will I goof on them? Absolutely, I will goof on them. Will I go? Yeah, absolutely, I'll go. I just don't see the need for it. I don't see the need for Jeff Tate standing up there singing a Kiss song. I'd rather Gene sing Just a Boy than bringing somebody in from the outside. You want to impress me? Get Vinny. Because it always makes for good drama.
Would you be good with them bringing their kids up?
As I'm convinced that Evan and Nick will probably be the opener.
Okay.
what do I know? But it just seems to work out
Mm-hmm.
for me. They have enough time to get a backing band together. It's a way for Paul and Gene to promote their kids. And it's a way for Evan and Nick to get promoted and be separate from KISS, but also be able to get some kind of juice from them at the same time. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Do I want Evan Stanley singing Detroit Rock City? I don't know. Maybe I'd be okay with it. You know, if you gave me Ace Into the Night, you gave me Gene, or you gave me Bruce, I Walk Alone. You know, Gene came up there and sang Radioactive. If Evan came out and played Detroit Rock City, I might be all right with it. But they don't care if we're all right with it.
Right.
They care that we're there.
Yeah.
And I'd already be there. And I think that's the largest part of the game. I think this is the reunion all over again.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking baby steps. You know, they're not giving too much information. They're taking baby steps and seeing, you know, how's this going to turn out? What's the interest going to be? Let's not go crazy. I mean, I'm guessing Pop House is covering all the overhead of this, but I think Pop House is doing the same thing. We don't have to have a cruise. This is where we pretty much have our headquarters for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's do a one-off, and then we can make it a yearly thing. And then if that works, let's just make this a residency, because it's not a big deal to either one of them to give up 24 hours a month,
right,
to go play, when they don't have to put 3 hours of makeup on, and
mm-hmm.
they don't have to run around in 30, 60 pounds of costumes and do all that. I think it would be interesting to see KISS with no hoopla.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many times, but I'd be interested. I've never seen KISS get up there like most bands do, and jeans and a t-shirt, like no big KISS sign, no bombs, no fire, no smoke, no nothing, and just play.
Mm-hmm.
Be interesting at least once. If it's good, it might be interesting more than once.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think there's going to be a test run to see where they go from here. If it's a success, minimally they'll do it at least once a year. And as you're saying, if not more, that they'll try to work it out so that there's so that they're making more money in the process.
Nobody's doing conventions, which is shocking to me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that avenue is open for them to turn this into a full-fledged yearly convention. Like they have so many different directions that they can go in if they want to go there. It's good to be Paul and Gene right now.
Right. Absolutely.
And if I was Ace or Peter, I'd be very angry and getting angrier. You know,
unless they've gotten the call.
Yeah, but they sold their rights.
Oh, in that sense, yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, in some respect, I envision Ace and Peter saying in December 2023, thank God this is all over with. And, you know, it wasn't over with for very long.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Which makes me laugh that, you know, the internet is turned upside down. They lied to us. They're coming back. There's people on the internet. There's podcasts. They're going to tour again. I don't think either one of them are physically capable of touring again. Like, you look at how Gene does do tours. Kiss will never tour like that to me.
Right.
A residency somewhere close, somewhere where they can pull in money from other avenues, that makes more sense to me. And you throw in including the kids and including the other business ventures, yeah, this now makes more sense to me.
Mm.
But it is Kiss, so I could be completely wrong. And November 17th, they could announce the 2027 Kiss World Tour. I'm not going, but they could announce it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, they could surprise us with anything. Absolutely. But like you're saying, I mean, people are just going, I think they're just going way off the deep end. I love that there are certain celebrities that are coming out and calling them out. Oh, this is bullshit. Dee Snider, first person that I ever interviewed, is already, they're the worst. They're this, they're that. Twisted Sister's always been jealous. They've, same area, kind of tried to copy the same kind of garb. But I personally prefer what Gene's doing than having, Dee Snider go out there and play second fiddle to Bret Michaels. I mean, just go out there and be the clown that's just doing, we're not going to take it, and I want to rock, and little else, sing a Jimmy Buffett song with Bret Michaels. How, who's really selling out?
Well, part of Dee's draw is Dee's a lot like Gene and Paul.
Yeah.
He knows how to stir up the controversy.
Right. Absolutely.
And him and Paul have been going back and forth for like the last 10 years. So I haven't listened to Dee's statement yet, but it keeps popping up on my YouTube feed. At some point, I'm going to have to listen to it because I know it's going to be nothing but spewing hate. And look.
Yeah.
Dee's not the only one.
Oh, no.
That's spewing hate. There's a lot of people doing that. And I just believe, hey, they have their right to do that. I don't see it like the way they see it. Look, if Kiss announces a 2026, 2027 world tour, I might jump on the hate bandwagon a little bit because everybody that flew to New York City, paid $2,000-$3,000 for a ticket, bought pizzas with Kiss Pizza, did all that goofy shit, and then you come back, 2-3 years later. No, I'm a lot of people should have an issue with that. A one-off in Vegas, a yearly thing in Vegas, a residency in Vegas that's different, that's stripped down, that somehow they make different set lists, that kind of stuff. I don't have any issue with that, and I don't see why anybody would. If you're a real Kiss fan.
Right.
I mean, if you want to get into tracks and that kind of stuff, and I can understand that. Like, I can understand the Kiss fan that says, I will fly to Vegas from wherever. If Paul is actually singing, I can understand that. Unfortunately, you won't know till it's too late. Because it's not like they're going to come out and tell you that.
Right.
Till after you buy the package. Well, that I haven't seen it, but I'm guessing it's non-refundable.
Probably. The beauty to all of this is that your show is called Hooligan Nation, so that if things go in that direction, you guys can always talk about other bands.
That's why the Kiss-centric is there. The Kiss-centric is there because I didn't want to be backed into a corner when I didn't want to be backed into a corner. I mean, I went to see Jackal live for the first time last September, I think, and I went crazy. And we argued. We didn't argue, but we bickered back and forth for like 2 weeks. And finally I said, "Well, I'm doing a Jackal show. You don't have to do it if you don't want to." Because I wanted to do something different. Right now he wants to do Van Halen.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to get through the album reviews. But at some point we're going to venture off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not going to leave our format, but I want to be able to venture off into Van Halen, Metallica, Anthrax, those kinds of bands. I'd love to venture off into the Kiss family tree, Slaughter, bands like that. Of course, I mean, we'll probably do a series on Vinny.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can never run out of things to talk about when it comes to Vinny.
Right.
Yeah, so we're never going to run out. And look, Kiss could have retired in December of 2023, and we could still not have heard anything, and we'll still never run out of things to talk about, because there's no other band out there that has done the crazy shit that they've done.
Right.
So you could probably do a year's worth of shows just on stage shows.
True. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if anybody'd watch them. I would watch them. But that's the kind of die-hard Kiss fan stuff that I think people look for. I know I do.
Right.
If I can come across a podcast that talks about Creatures of the Night stage show, I'm all in. I wanna know, who designed the tank. I wanna know those stupid facts that the fair weather fans don't care about.
Yeah. No, I agree with you, and that's what'll keep them going still for a long
Right.
time, and that's what's going to keep you guys, give you enough material to work with, for quite some time.
They're killing me right now. We just recorded a segment about Vegas 2 days ago, and since then, all this new information has come out. And I edited the segment today, and I went back and forth. Like, do I just throw this away and try to record another one, or do I just put this out? And I'm thinking this time next week there'll be more information out. So I think it's gonna be a never-ending thing that they're just gonna keep putting little tidbits out almost weekly. They're gonna build the machine, because that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
The Elder was going to be a return to the hard rock and heavy metal Kiss. And they told everybody that would listen. It didn't work, but they tried.
Right. Yeah, and what that will end up doing as well, with them dropping those small nuggets, is that they'll continue to give you enough information to do another episode. And many other shows and many other boards and whatnot online are going to take that and run with it for a week.
And look, it's not old material. It's not old material because we all have different opinions on it.
Right.
So I can watch my podcast and then go watch 6 other Kiss podcasts about the same subject, and not one of us are going to completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody's going to come up with a theory that not everybody else came up with. And like I said, if you're a diehard Kiss fan, I think that's what you're looking for, is more about the opinions than you are, let's say, the facts. Everybody knows Bob Ezrin produced Destroyer. What everybody doesn't know is what everybody else hears out of Destroyer that maybe that person that watching hasn't heard or didn't hear.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense to you.
Yeah.
So I think that's where, like, I said this from the start. We're not competing against any other KISS podcasts. We're not trying to be the best KISS podcast. We're just trying to be different,
Mm-hmm.
different opinions. My some of my subscribers hate the unmasked KISS, hate the keyboards, hate the Bon Jovi sound. I love Turn on the Night.
Right.
I'm okay with it. Is it a play off of Bon Jovi? Absolutely. Did it work? Absolutely. It worked. Paul and Gene, well, probably just Paul at the time, looked over and said, Bon Jovi is selling 10 million records. We're going to make ourselves a couple Bon Jovi songs.
Mm-hmm.
And it sold. So again, capitalism, music business. Give them credit. Did they follow trends? Absolutely. They followed trends all the way to the bank with a Brinks truck.
Yeah. Yeah, and also they weren't the only band to do that stuff. So I mean, for as much crap as they get, the Stones did it. Motley Crue did it. Ozzy did it. I mean, the list goes on where people followed different trends in rock, in and out of rock, and it's not exclusive to them. It's just funny that they get picked on for a lot of things that other bands end up doing anyway.
For some reason, they're held at a different level. I've never been able to figure out why.
Jealousy. So
whatever.
Yeah.
Stealing has been part of the music business, I think, forever. And it's going to continue to be part of the music business forever.
Yeah.
One person, there was one Nirvana, and then there was 50 Nirvanas.
Yeah. No, that's correct. With every wave, there's always a B, C, D, E, F, and onwards, version of every popular band. So,
Yep.
Where can people go to check out your show? Where can they follow Hooligan Nation? Where can they listen to it? Where can they comment on the episodes?
Our YouTube channel is the Hooligan Nation, a KISS-centric podcast. We do not have a website up yet. We're working on it. We do have a Facebook group because we're old. It's the Hooligan Nation, a KISS-centric podcast. We also have a TikTok and an Instagram that are some version of, you're going to have to search because I can't remember it. Hooligan Nation, a KISS-centric podcast. And it's our social media is in the description of all our YouTube videos, and the audio only podcast is available on all the podcasting platforms, all the major podcasting platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, all of them. So we're still crawling. We're still crawling right now, but I think today's episode is episode 31. And that's the full length episode. And then we put out shorter segments out on Wednesday. And we usually put a trailer out for the Friday episode on Monday. So if you go on the YouTube channel, you get 3 different things a week from us. Audio wise, you usually get a Wednesday segment that's between 15 and 25 minutes. And then on Friday, you'll get a full length episode, which is between 45 minutes and an hour and a half usually.
Okay, cool. And as I mentioned before, I enjoy the discussions that you guys have, so I recommend others check it out as well.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. And I do want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. Hopefully this will be the first of many appearances.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
So awesome. Want to thank everyone who watched the episode live or is watching the replay or listening to the replay. And we will be back not only with Tony, but we'll be back with more Signals from Mars. Hopefully next week. See you guys.
Thank you for watching the Signals from Mars live stream. You can watch the show live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch, or check out replays on YouTube. Go to signalsfrommars.com for more information. This concludes our show.